Ang main reason kung bakit ayaw pa rin ho mairekomenda ng ating mga eksperto na baguhin natin ang definition ng fully vaccinated because it's going to cause confusion since marami pa rin po tayong mga kababayan na hindi pa rin po bakunado. Pangalawa, ito pong ating primary series hanggang sa ngayon naman po kahit kaunti may protection pang binibigay sa atin. So ang sabi po ng ating mga eksperto, it would be better if we go to that direction where we can use another term like up-to-date vaccination so that we can encourage more of our citizens para po sila ay magpapakuna.
You just heard Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere reiterating that the Health Department is not inclined to add booster requirements as a condition to being fully vaccinated. This comes as a take-up of booster shots remains low. She said government would rather come up with new terminologies such as up-to-date vaccination to reclassify those who have had their third dose. Time for today's biggest headlines. I'm Gretchen Ho, and you're watching The Big Story. With millions of Filipinos yet to receive their booster shots, health officials are now coming up with ways to bolster third-dose vaccination, including the use of an expiration date in vaccination cards. Jem Avancenia with The Big Story.
With the country trying to revert back to normal, experts are looking for ways to encourage people to increase their COVID immunization. That is why the National Vaccination Operations Center or NVOC is now considering to incorporate an expiration date on vaccination cards. The goal is to get people boosted. As of now, there are only 12 million Filipinos who've had their booster shots, far from the 65 million who have had their primary doses. Aside from the expiration date, NVOC is also looking into including booster shots as a requisite for being fully vaccinated. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Salceda recommended having booster cards as proof of vaccination in establishments. Despite concerns over low booster vaccination rates, cases have been on a downtrend in the Philippines with less than 400 cases a day.
We are in a phase of dealing with the COVID that has moved already from the pandemic to the endemic situation. So we have to. Most of the European population is triple vaccinated, and we have to learn how to live with the COVID.
Solante adds that the May 9 elections has the possibility to become a super spreader event. That's if majority of voters haven't been boosted yet. As for Solante, being vaccinated is still the key to being safe.
We are going to put vaccination as an important strategy. Not only it will prevent COVID, but it will also prevent long COVID. And there are data that even if you had the long COVID and if you have vaccinated, that risks, that duration of long COVID symptoms will also be lesser compared to unvaccinated.
For News 5, Jem Avancenia, we are One News.
With suggestions left and right, what exactly does the Health Department plan to do to help improve booster vaccination? That big question and more with Health Undersecretary Mirna Cabotaje of the Department of Health. Yusek Cabotaje, welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Ms. Gretchen, and to all your viewers tonight.
Yusek, in order for us to be able to appreciate more the need for a booster dose, how imminent is the threat of a COVID-19 surge now? I mean, we have the numbers down, but we are still in the middle of election season.
We are not definite that the downward trend will continue if there will be new variants that will be occurring, but we are prepared to do so, and therefore we need to be up to date and ramping up our vaccination and continuing our minimum public health protocols.
Okay, Ms. Mirna, sa ngayon po medyo mababa yung mga numero po natin when it comes to booster shots. 12 million out of 45. How do we encourage people to take booster shots? Secretary Vergere has stricken out the option of redefining fully vaccinated. What is now the strategy of the Department of Health?
We will have to advocate and inform them of the need of a third shot or a booster shot that will help improve the waning immunity after the primary doses, especially in the light of variants that will be coming. The Omicron has proven that a booster shot was effective to help us ward off or at least manage the COVID variant Omicron during this time.
Ma'am, will this be the new normal and will we need to get a booster shot now every 6 months? Ano po yung time frame nun para sa booster shots?
Living with the virus will be our new reality as we move from the pandemic to the endemic state, similar to the flu. And getting a booster is the current recommendation. Initially, it was to be given 6 months after the primary series. But after the surges early this year and late last year, we decided to do it every 3 months. Now the recommendation is to have another booster after 4 months, especially for the vulnerable and the immunocompromised. If that will be the trend every 6 months, we will see how the development will go. After this second booster. If we will need additional booster shots, or we will just have a once a year booster shot, or whether we will just have booster shots for the vulnerable and immunocompromised.
All right, maraming salamat po. That was Undersecretary Mirna Cabotaje of the Department of Health. According to the Health Department, only 12 million Filipinos have gotten their booster shots. It's a far cry from the 45 million individuals who are eligible to get the additional dose. Tonight's big number, 33 million. That is the number of Filipinos who have yet to receive their booster shots. The Health Department says some Filipinos are hesitant to receive that third dose, thinking the first and second dose will be enough to protect them from the ever-evolving COVID-19 virus. As of March 30, over 65 million Filipinos have had their first and second shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, these are the other big stories tonight. President Rodrigo Duterte attended the Cusi-led PDP Laban rally in Cebu but remains firm in his decision to stay neutral and not endorse any presidential candidate. Meanwhile, presidential candidate and Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno once again defended the sale of the iconic Divisoria public market, saying the proceeds from the sale was used to fund programs during the pandemic. And more kilig as we give you more details from the wedding of the year of Chloe stars Hyun Bin and Son Ye Jin. These big stories after the break. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Gretchen Ho. despite endorsing a host of senatorial aspirants and even his daughter's bid for the vice presidency. President Rodrigo Duterte says he will stay out of the way when it comes to those gunning for the highest position in the land. Maricel Halili has the report.
For the first time, President Rodrigo Duterte personally attended a proclamation rally of his party, PDP Laban, in Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu. Many were hoping that Duterte will endorse a presidential candidate during the rally, but that did not happen. Prior to Duterte's announcement, PDP Laban had already endorsed Ferdinand Marcos Jr. as their presidential bet.
I am not supporting any presidential candidate. Neutral ako. So this is not a campaign because I am not campaigning for any particular candidate.
Despite maintaining his supposed neutrality, Duterte said he is partisan in the vice presidential race.
Actually, this is the first time nga gamit na ako ang akong pagkaamahan nga sa nagkuhan ko kaagig sa mo. Pero anak is anak is anak. So, pero may na si Inday, tinood lang.
During the rally, Duterte raised the hands of PDP Laban senatorial slate. He also endorsed the party's 3 guest candidates, Mark Villar, Harry Roque, and Gringo Onasan. Even non-PDP members got his blessing, including Alan Cayetano, Cheese Escudero, Loren Legarda, Joel Villanueva, Jinggoy Estrada, JV Ejercito, Gibo Chidoro, and Mig Subiri. Before the proclamation rally, the chief executive attended the joint meeting of the NTF-LCAC. During his speech, Duterte joked that it would be cheaper for vice mayors to just pay someone to ambush the mayors of their localities than run in the elections.
Kamu mga vice mayor, ayaw na lang magdagang eleksyon. Ipaambos na lang ng mayor. Paambos na mo. 50,000, larga na na.
The president also claimed that he fired a number of environment officials due to alleged involvement in corruption, particularly those involving reclamation projects in Manila. The palace was quick to clarify that he was not referring to former Environment Secretary Royce Matu, who resigned in February due to health reasons. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
Nothing but diversion. This is how the camp of Manila Mayor Isko Moreno describes the issues being floated against the sale of Divisoria Mall. They say the matter is being used to take away attention from the multi-billion peso unpaid estate taxes of the Marcoses. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a front seat to the story.
Presidential candidate and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno's camp once again defended the sale of the Divisoria Mall. Manila Councilor Attorney Princess Abante justified the property was sold off because it's been underutilized for decades.
Kahit na gusto natin i-develop on our own ang Divisoria Mall, aside from the fact na merong kontrata yan up to 2046 na in-extend noong 2013, we do not have funds then.
Abante said that while the market's monthly rental went up from 160 to more than 257,000 in 2013, the city doesn't make much from it. The property was auctioned off upon the recommendation of the Asset Management Committee in August 2020 to dispose the city's interest in the market. Through a resolution in the same year, the property was sold to Festina Holdings Incorporated for 1.44 billion pesos. In a different resolution, the company was allowed to develop the mall by building a 50-story commercial building. But some vendors claim they were not informed of the sale. The LGU said, however, the sale went through the proper channels and even helped fund their COVID response, from quarantine facilities to purchasing vaccines.
If Festina would want to operate a market, they will need a franchise from the city government. And the city government can then impose conditions on how to protect the vendors.
Action Democratico believes the issue on the sale of Divisoria is being used to divert attention from the unpaid taxes of the Marcoses.
The Marcos supporters So tingin namin, they were so hurt of the truth that now they are muddling the issue using this Divisoria.
He also urged the Marcoses to avail of the state's estate tax amnesty program amid the issue on the 23 billion peso estate tax they owe that has been extended until next year.
Kalahati na lang. Wala na yung we-waive na po yung 180 billion na compute na surcharges, penalties, and interest.
Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
In other news, the Justice Department says it was not informed of SMNI's interview with convicted retired Major General Jovito Palparan. Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara says the court did not receive any request nor give permission for Palparan to appear on Pastor Kibuloy's network. The 2-hour interview talked about the government's campaign against activists and painted the convicted kidnapper as a victim. A Bulacan court decision in 2018 slapped Palparan with cases of kidnapping and serious illegal detention over the disappearances of UP students Karen Empeño and Sherlyn Cadapan. The DOJ said it will conduct a probe, saying the rule on granting interviews is not clear and that granting interviews may be considered an operational matter that Bucor may resolve by itself.
The Benjin fever is still on. What you just heard is a very crash landing on you theme song in Yunbin and Sonia Jin's wedding on Thursday. Dubbed as the wedding of the century, the guest list also lived up to the name. Top-rated actors and box office stars were present in the event. These included Goblin star Gong Yu, Vincenzo Mafia Song Joong Ki, and Girls' Generation Yuna, among others. Fans also could not help but gush over Yejin's luxury bridal gowns. A Mira Zeilinger off-shoulder gown from the wedding ceremony, and a Vera Wang and an Elisa bridal gown for the pre-wedding photo shoot. But the most awaited moment is a video of the bride finally walking down the aisle to her groom, with the song Can't Help Falling in Love playing in the background. Congratulations, Chloe couple! For News 5, MJ Marfori, We Are One News.
Time for another quick break. When we return, presidential bet and Senator Manny Pacquiao urges voters to think twice about who they will be electing in the May polls, saying that another Marcos presidency will most likely mean a return to martial law rule. And it's a prank. One Grab user had something special planned for Grab delivery riders on April Fool's Day. More of these big stories after the break. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Gretchen Ho. Presidential candidate and Senator Manny Pacquiao urges voters to choose wisely, saying another Marcos presidency could mean a return to martial law. Pacquiao also warns the Marcos family could use their position in Malacanang to get away with settling their existing debt. Mon Gualvez with the story.
Senator Manny Pacquiao on Thursday has visited fellow presidential bet Vice President Leni Robredo's known bailiwick, Iloilo. He paid courtesy visits to Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas and Provincial Governor Arthur Defensor Jr. Although the two have already pledged support for Robredo, Treñas said that he would have campaigned for Pacquiao if Robredo had not run.
Senator Manny is a very good friend. And if VP Leni did not run, I would probably be supporting him.
While knowing that he's lagging behind in survey numbers, the senator said it would be worrisome if Ferdinand Marcos Jr. wins. He warned that a Marcos victory might mean the return of martial law.
Hindi malayo na magkakaroon ng martial law ulit at yan ay pagsisihan ng taong bayan. Hindi wala akong personal na galit sa mga Marcos pero tinitingnan ko lang yung kapakanan ng bansa natin, kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino.
For Pacquiao, Marcos Jr.'s attitude on the unsettled multi-billion peso estate tax of his family is basis enough of how he'll be once he becomes chief executive. Ultimately, he said the Marcoses want to return to Malacanang for a personal agenda.
So, ang ibig sabihin nun, naindik doon sa anak na atin man yung gobyerno, tayo ang gobyerno, walang bakit tayo susunod sa batas. Unang-una, absilto dyan sila dyan sa mga nila sa gobyerno, yung sa taxes. Pangalawa, yung mga nakadispute na mga ari-arian, kayamanan na trilyon-trilyon, gold deposit, lahat yan, malilinis na yan at kaya na nilang i-transfer sa sariling account nila.
Marcos Jr. meanwhile brushed off these remarks from Pacquiao, and when asked about the accusation that he's only running to escape his family's billions of liabilities, his answer was, quote, "Not so much." For News 5, Mon Gualvez, We Are One News.
Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo visits Marawi City as part of her People's Campaign. For the latest updates, mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro joins us from Marawi.
Gretchen, Vice President Leni Robredo visited Marawi City and Lanao del Sur, bringing new promises to the people of the ruined city. According to Robredo, should she win, she will sign the Marawi compensation to provide assistance for those displaced by the conflict and to expedite Marawi's rehabilitation.
Sisiguraduhin ko na mapapabilis yung rehabilitation para makabalik na kayo sa mga bahay ninyo. Alam po natin na napakatagal ng panahon ang hinihintay nyo.
The Vice President then visited the Angat Buhay village, built by the OVP after the siege. For Robredo, her projects in Marawi are her receipts that she shows up in difficult times, and that if she wins, the people of the province will be taken care of. Recall that in 2016, the Vice President won in Lanao del Sur by a landslide over now close rival Ferdinand Marcos Jr. However, things might be different this time. Governor Mamintal Adyong claimed that all 38 mayors of the province are endorsing the unity. Recall that the Adyong clan endorsed Robredo on the 2016 elections. Robbie, Gretchen, Robredo, however, was still able to get endorsements of local mayors like Mayor Kamalodin Dadayan of Wadi Piso, Buntong Municipality. Vice Presidential candidate Kiko Pangilinan, meanwhile, vows to pass the Sagip Saka Act to help farmers boost their profits. Gretchen?
For the big story in sports, after 2 long years, the UAAP is back and it opens its doors to fans on a limited capacity starting April 5. The UAAP made the decision after consulting with the league's biosecurity officers, CHED, and the Pasay City LGU. Only fully vaccinated individuals will be allowed to enter the Mall of Asia Arena, with fans required to present vaccination cards upon entry. Health and safety protocols like wearing of masks and social distancing will also be strictly monitored inside the venue. It's a prank! While it's not an official holiday, people around the world are still celebrating April Fool's Day with practical jokes for good laughs. This one Grab user thought it fun to play along and pranked some of the delivery riders, but in a good way. Twitter user Viberni detailed on his account his simple but memorable prank on several delivery riders. The netizen booked several food deliveries, paid for them, and asked the riders to not deliver it to his home. That's because it's theirs to bring home to their families for an amazing dinner tonight. This fake delivery gone right has had riders feeling touched by the gesture, thanking Viberni for giving the simple ayuda. Well, may we all have more tricks up our sleeves of that kind, especially for the weekend. Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again on Monday, 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Gretchen Ho. We are One News.